Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Britain announces largest asylum policy overhaul in modern times, reduces protection for refugees and end automatic benefits for asylum seekers. Russian President Vladimir Putin speaks to Netanyahu on phone, discusses West Asia, including developments in Gaza, Iran's nuclear program and Syria stabilization. UN Security Council to vote on Monday on a resolution endorsing US President Trump's Gaza peace plan. Arab states, US, Egypt and Turkey urge UNSC to adopt the Gaza resolution. India at COP30 urges developed nations to fulfill climate finance promises, warns failure makes nationally determined contributions unachievable. And in sports, World Boxing Cup Finals kicks off in India's Greater Noida. 130 boxers from 18 countries to participate. Indian boxers, including two-time world champion Nikhat Zareen, to fight for glory. Britain said on Saturday that it would launch the largest overhaul of policy on asylum seekers in modern times. Britain's government announced late on Saturday that it will drastically reduce protections for refugees and end automatic benefits for asylum seekers under new plans aimed at slashing irregular immigration. As part of the changes, the statutory duty to provide support to certain asylum seekers, including housing and weekly allowances, will be revoked. UK's Interior Ministry in a statement said that the measures would apply to asylum seekers who can work but choose not to, and to those who break the law. It said that taxpayer-funded support would be prioritised for those contributing to the economy and local communities. UK Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is expected to provide further details on Monday about the measures. Britain currently grants asylum to those who can prove they are unsafe at home, with refugee status given to those deemed to be at risk of persecution. The status lasts for 5 years, after which they can apply for permanent settlement if they meet certain criteria. The UN Security Council will vote on Monday on a resolution endorsing US President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Last week, the Americans officially launched negotiations with the 15-member Security Council on a text that would follow up on a ceasefire in the 2-year conflict between Israel and Hamas and endorse Trump's plan. A draft of the resolution welcomes the establishment of the Board of Peace, a transitional governing body for Gaza that Trump would theoretically chair with a mandate running until the end of 2027. It would authorize member states to form a temporary international stabilization force that would work with Israel and Egypt and newly trained Palestinian police to help secure border areas and demilitarize the Gaza Strip. The United States and several Arab and Muslim majority nations, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia and Turkey, called the UN Security Council to quickly adopt the resolution. Ahead of UNSC vote, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussed the situation in West Asia, including developments in Gaza, Iran's nuclear program and Syria, in a phone call. Russia circulated a competing draft resolution to council members that does not authorize the creation of a board of peace or the immediate deployment of an international force in Gaza. The Russian version welcomes the initiative that led to the ceasefire. It also only calls on the UN Secretary General to submit a report that addresses the possibilities of deploying an international stabilization force in war-ravaged Gaza. The Russian UN mission said in a statement that its alternative proposal differed by recognizing the principle of a two-state solution for the Israeli-Palestinian settlement. Meanwhile, Israeli protesters gathered in Tel Aviv on Saturday to demand the Israeli government appoints a committee to initiate a state inquiry on the events of October 7th. Demonstrators also demanded the return of remains of slain hostages from Gaza. Under an October ceasefire deal, Hamas agreed to the release of the last living hostages seized during the Hamas-led October 7, 2023 attacks on Israel. The U.S. military released a video it said showed a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel described as being involved in illicit narcotics smuggling in the Caribbean. On its X account, the U.S. Southern Command said that the strike had occurred on November 10th at the direction of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. In the black and white video, the boat appears to be traveling at high speed when it bursts into flames and stops. The U.S. strikes against the suspected drug vessels in the Caribbean and off the Pacific coasts of Latin America have killed dozens of people who President Donald Trump's administration calls drug trafficking terrorists responsible for thousands of deaths in the U.S. without providing evidence. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro on Saturday criticized the planned military drills by Trinidad and Tobago, calling them a threat to regional stability and accusing the neighboring nation of allowing its waters to be used for exercises aimed at intimidating Venezuela. The exercises in the waters of Venezuela's Sucre state coast are scheduled to run from Monday to Thursday. The exercises take place amid broader U.S. military operations in the Caribbean, which include warships, fighter jets, and thousands of troops. While U.S. President Trump's administration says the operations target drug trafficking, Maduro maintains that they represent a covert attempt to overthrow his government. Australia on Sunday cautiously welcomed President Trump's rollback of his tariffs on red meat while pressing the U.S. to eliminate all tariffs on Australian goods. Trump on Friday removed tariffs he had imposed on more than 200 food products amid consumer concerns about rising U.S. grocery prices. Australia in 2024 became the biggest shipper of red meat to the U.S., offering lower prices and lean cuts that the U.S. lacks. Among the various tariffs Trump has imposed on goods shipped into the U.S., he called some of them reciprocal based on the size of the U.S. goods trade deficit with the given country. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that his Labour government would continue to advocate for genuine reciprocal tariffs, which would be zero. Foreign Minister Penny Wong said that Canberra would keep advocating their position.
We welcome the lifting of these tariffs. That's a good thing for Australian beef producers. We maintain a clear, consistent position. We do not support tariffs. We believe in being able to access each other's markets. We think that's in the best interests of consumers as well as of producers.
Mexico witnessed widespread protests on Saturday night against the government of Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum at Zocalo Square. Youth-led protests were rallied under the umbrella title of Gen Z, referring to those aged under 28. Youth protesters threw rocks at the police in front of the government palace during a Gen Z march against President Claudia Sheinbaum. Thousands of people marched through the streets of Mexico to protest against drug violence and security policies of President Sheinbaum's government. She faces criticism due to several high-profile murders, mainly in the state of Michoacán. Families of 63 victims of a deadly nightclub fire in North Macedonia marched through Skopje on Saturday, calling for justice and accountability. Thousands carried photos of loved ones and questioned the authorities. The fire, triggered by sparks that ignited the roof of an unlicensed nightclub in Kokani in March, left 63 dead and over 150 injured as crowds fought to escape through a single exit. The trial of 37 suspects, including officials who approved licenses, club owner, brand members, police and security staff, begins next week. Hundreds of protesters gathered outside the White House to protest against U.S. President Trump on Saturday. The protest, which remained peaceful, culminated with a march and demonstration as activists wrapped crime scene tape around the perimeter of the White House property. Now, this is the first of the 3 protests. The second will be held on November 17th and the third on November 24th. A delegation from the Caribbean Community Reparations Commission will hold talks this week with officials and politicians in Britain on addressing the historical injustices of slavery and colonialism, as well as their lasting impacts. Now, according to official statement, the CARICOM Commission's visit will take place from November 17 to 20th to the United Kingdom. The visit aims to strengthen strategic partnership and promote a joint program of the public education and engagement in the reparations agenda. Calls for reparations have gained momentum worldwide, particularly among CARICOM, a group of 15 member states that includes Barbados and Jamaica and the African Union. CARICOM has a reparations plan which includes calls for a full and formal apology, education programs, debt cancellation and monetary compensation, while the AU is developing its own. At least 4 people died after 2 migrant boats capsized off Libya's Al-Khams coast, prompting rescue operations by the Libyan Red Crescent and local authorities. A boat carrying 26 Bangladeshi migrants sank on Thursday night. Another boat with 69 migrants, including Egyptians, Sudanese and 8 children, also capsized. The Libyan Red Crescent, along with the Coast Guard and port authorities, conducted rescue operations, recovered bodies and followed established procedures. Such incidents have increased recently along Libya's coast as migrants attempt the Mediterranean crossing to Europe. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, protesters thronged the streets of Belém, hosting COP30 talks, marking the first large-scale protest at a UN climate summit in years. Ukrainian President Zelensky renews call for more air defense systems after deadly strike on Kyiv killed 7. Storm Claudia causes weather woes across Europe. Several areas on high alert.
Goa, an adventure paradise like none other. From lush forests to rugged hills, from pristine ocean beach stretches to stunning lakes, there is something to explore in every corner of the state. And some adventures are wilder than others. Watch Postcards from Goa on National Geographic.
Open your mind to a whole new world. Explore mystic wonders of nature in the forests.
तो मुझे देख के आपको लग रहा है कि मुझे इजी वाला देना चाहिए.
Uncover secrets hidden deep inside the earth.
And I'd always heard of this ancient Shiv Mandir which is inside a cave.
Experience the rich cultural legacy.
मुझे बताइए इस डांस फॉर्म के बारे में, इस आर्ट फॉर्म के बारे में.
Experience the blend of vibrant warmth and stunning creations.
It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Jharkhand. Let it become a part of you. Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's continue getting more updates. India on Saturday sharply criticized developed countries for failing to meet their climate finance obligations. Speaking on behalf of the like-minded developing countries at a third high-level ministerial dialogue on climate finance at COP30 in Brazil's Belém, India said that climate finance is a critical enabler of climate action in developing countries. India's negotiator, Suman Chandra, emphasized the critical need for predictable, transparent financial assistance from developed countries to enable developing countries to meet their nationally determined contributions. India also made it clear that the climate transition in the global south is being held back by broken promises. India's remarks highlighted the legal obligations set out by the Paris Agreement that developed nations are yet to fulfill. India specifically pointed out inadequacies in the new collective quantified goal revealed at COP29 and called for substantial, consistent financial support from wealthier nations. At this year's climate conference, developing countries have demanded that Article 9.1 be included on the official agenda for formal negotiations. NDCs are national climate plans under the Paris Agreement that set targets to cut emissions and adapt to climate change, guiding global efforts to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. So those are the details of India's stand at COP30. Our correspondent Akshay Dongre is joining us to get us more. Akshay, we've given a brief outline of India's stand and India's viewpoint, which were put forth at the ministerial meeting when we talk of COP30 in Belem. You get us more. To what extent did India succeed in bringing the concerns of the developing nations onto the table?
Well, while India has, brought the concerns of the developing world, of the global south at the platform of COP27, it's not enough, Preeti, because the way this situation has, in fact, transpired, is a big question mark on the way the entire situation is panning out. In fact, when we look at COP27 and other kind of climate action forums, the developed world, while has made huge promises, but when it comes to the action on the ground, they not only have not fulfilled their promises, they in fact have gone back on their word. For example, the climate action and the climate finance, that is a responsibility of the developed world. And the reason why we say that is because, these developed countries have used the natural resources in a manner that has accelerated climate change in a, never seen before. In fact, the entire industrial revolution, the kind of exploitation of resources from the developing world has enabled the developed world to be where they are today. And now as the developing world, also looks at going the same manner, developing the same manner, the developed world is creating hurdles, is asking the global south to reconsider the usage of those very resources that the developed countries are used to reach where they are. Now that's fine, because the developing world is not asking to burn the fossil fuels indiscriminately and accelerate the climate change, but they will have to adopt a different channel of implementation of the same manner of development. Energy is required by any country that wants to develop. So those resources will have to be finalized, will have to be found an alternative of, which will require a lot of money. And it is the responsibility of those very preachers who have gathered the resources, burning those very fossil fuels to help these countries and to at least to transition from the current means of energy to the renewable ones, which also again are patented by the developed countries that they charge the developing world to implement.
All right, Akshay, thank you so much for joining in with those updates. That was our correspondent Akshay telling us more about India's stand at COP30 that is currently taking place in Belem. Still with COP30, tens of thousands of people thronged the streets of the Amazonian city hosting COP30 talks on Saturday, dancing to thumping speakers in the first large-scale protest at a UN climate summit in years. As the first week of climate negotiations limped to a close with nations deadlocked, indigenous people and activists sang, chanted and rolled a giant beach ball of earth through Belem under a searing sun. Others held a mock funeral procession for fossil fuels. dressed in black and pretending to be grieving widows as they carried 3 coffins marked with the words coal, oil and gas. It was the first major protest outside the annual climate talks since COP26 4 years ago in Glasgow, as the last 3 gatherings were held in locations with little tolerance for demonstrations, that is Egypt, United Arab Emirates and Azerbaijan. Called the Great People's March by organisers, the Belém rally comes at the halfway point of difficult negotiations and follows 2 indigenous-led protests that disrupted proceedings earlier in the week. In other updates, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Saturday renewed his plea for more air defense systems a day after Russian strikes on Kyiv killed 7 people. His latest comments came after Russian missiles struck apartment blocks across the Ukrainian capital on Friday. Russia-Ukraine conflict has dragged on for nearly 4 years, with diplomatic efforts to end it falling. The fears are growing for the country's energy security ahead of a 4th winter of conflict. Ukraine said Russian attacks had killed 4 people in its southern region on Saturday, while it had attacked a Russian oil refinery near Moscow. Ukraine has regularly staged missile and drone attacks inside Russia. Ryazan Governor Pavel Malkov said that Russian air defenses had shot down 25 Ukrainian drones over the region during the night. Chileans will head to the ballot box on Sunday to elect a new president in a vote that is pitting the governing leftist coalition against an array of right-wing candidates. This will be Chile's first presidential election since 2012, where voting will be mandatory and those who do not vote shall face a fine. The security plan for election includes the deployment of thousands of police officers and vehicles along with 10 helicopters to protect over 3,000 polling stations across the country. None of the 8 candidates in the running are expected to reach the majority needed to win outright, likely triggering a runoff election on December 14th. Honduras is heading towards its November 30th presidential elections amid mounting political tension and accusations of fraud from both the governing Liberal Party and the opposition. Recent polls show a tight 3-way race among Salvador Nasrallah of the Liberal Party, Rixi Moncada of Libre, and National Party candidate Nasri Asfura. Asfura has pointed to statements from U.S. officials as a warning to respect democratic norms, while Libre representatives allege that the right-wing groups backed by U.S. are trying to undermine the vote. Hungary gears up for 2026 parliamentary election with opposition leader Peter Magyar drawing large crowds in Győr on Saturday as he stepped up his campaign to challenge Prime Minister Viktor Orban in the upcoming election. Magyar's centre-right Tiza party leads Fidesz in most polls, boosted by public frustration over a stagnating, inflation-hit economy. Accusing Orban of driving Hungary into recession, Magyar said that voters are ready for change. Earlier, Orban held his own rally, warning of rising war threats in Europe and promoting tax cuts, wage hikes and housing aid as his government tries to revive weak economic growth. Let's get to weather updates now. Southern California is on high alert as back-to-back storms hit Los Angeles, bringing heavy rain and raising serious fears of flooding and mudslides in wildfire-scarred areas. Forecasters warn that rain sweeping down from the San Francisco region could trigger floods, especially in places damaged by January's wildfires. Nearly 180,000 people have been evacuated as authorities prepare for possible flooding and mudslides. The storms may ease by Sunday, but more rain is expected later in the week. Storm Claudia is causing dangerous weather across Europe, from severe flooding in southern Wales to deadly storms and a tornado in Portugal. Several areas remain on high alert as authorities warn of serious risks to life and property. In southern Wales, Storm Claudia's heavy rains caused severe flooding early on Saturday. Water burst into shops and submerged cars on the lower high street after the river Monau overflowed. Authorities issued several flood warnings for Monmouth, calling the situation a significant risk to life and the community. In Portugal, the storm turned deadly as one person was killed and around 24 were injured on Saturday. A tornado hit a camping site in Albufeira, destroying caravans, while more people were hurt at a nearby hotel. With the death toll rising to 3, the Algarve and nearby districts remain on amber alert. Myanmar was hit by a mild earthquake early on Sunday, with tremors recorded by India's National Centre for Seismology. Now, according to the NCS, a 3.5 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar at a shallow depth of 10 kilometers, increasing the chances of aftershocks. A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. Thousands of French wine growers marched in Béziers to protest against falling wine prices, foreign competition, strict regulations, and climate change hit harvests. This year's output remains at historically low levels, that is 16% below the 5-year average. Farmers say they are financially struggling and are demanding urgent government support and fairer policies. A massive illegal waste dump has been found in the fields of London's Oxfordshire. The pile, about 150 meters long and 6 meters high, was left by fly tippers near a riverbank. Locals say it is bigger than some legal landfills, and officials are seeking government help to clean it up. Hong Kong has launched the Lion Rock chip, now in mass production. It is the world's first data center management chip built on the open source RISC-V system. The chip boosts speed, cutting data center boot up to 1 minute. Its first client is Huawei-linked company, and the team plans to involve more local tech talent as production expands. Hong Kong has launched a national security-themed school drama to raise awareness among children. The show premiered at Hong Kong City Hall. The drama uses updated scenes from a popular comedy film and includes interactive elements to help primary students understand national security in daily life. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, 8th edition of bilateral air exercise Garud 25 between India and France begins. Stay with us for a quick sneak peek into the 44th India International Trade Fair. The hill shrine of Sabrimala, dedicated to Lord Ayappa, opens doors for pilgrims.
When we stop seeing ourselves as separate from the world around us, caring for our planet becomes caring for our own existence. So today, let's meet people who are showing us even small steps can bring about lasting change.
I left the teaching job, started protecting palm trees. I began creating awareness among children in schools and colleges why palm trees are important and why we should care about saving them.
This habitat develops on its own inside the vortex pool. There's water moss on the walls and here on the bottom. The moss growth on the walls and bottom is proof that the water quality really is improving.
Past, we didn't know what conservation was or how to preserve or protect the wildlife. Now, through this restoration site, we are trying our best to carry forward a legacy of protecting the environment.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. A quick relook at the top stories now. Britain announces largest asylum policy overhaul in modern times, reduces protection for refugees and end automatic benefits for asylum seekers. Russian President Putin speaks to Netanyahu on phone, discusses West Asia, including developments in Gaza, Iran's nuclear program and Syria stabilization. UN Security Council to vote on Monday on a resolution endorsing US President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. Arab states, US, Egypt and Turkey urge UNSC to adopt Gaza resolution. India at COP30 urges developed nations to fulfill climate finance promises, warns failure makes nationally determined contributions unachievable. In sports, World Boxing Cup final kicks off in India's Greater Noida. 130 boxers from 18 countries to participate. Indian boxers, including two times world champion Nikhat Zareen, to fight for glory. India and Bahrain have reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening bilateral ties during a high-level phone conversation. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke with Bahrain's Foreign Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, where the two leaders discussed ways to further deepen the long-standing and multifaceted partnership between New Delhi and Manama. Both sides exchanged views on key regional and global developments, underscoring their close coordination on issues of mutual interest. The conversation highlighted the continued warmth in India-Bahrain relations, spanning trade, energy, security cooperation and people-to-people ties. Investigators probing Delhi car blast suspect that triestone triperoxide called TATP could be one of the key components of the IED that was in the car that exploded on Monday evening near Red Fort. Meanwhile, continuous combing operations are going on across all the states. Security has been beefed up in all the states. Thorough checking is underway. Ireland's ambassador to India, Kevin Kelly, said that the nation strongly stood against terrorism. He lauded the government for its prompt action in preventing further damage.
People and the families who are affected. Ireland, of course, we stand completely against any kind of terrorism, and so for us, it's something that hopefully that the one good thing I think is that the government, the authorities here, managed to detect, and perhaps it could have been a much worse incident. But so for us, of course, we totally condemn any kind of incident of terrorism, and our thoughts and sympathies go with the families of those affected.
German Ambassador Philipp Ackermann said that it was obviously a terror attack and expressed condolences to the people of India.
It's a shocking event. We were taken by total surprise, and I'm extremely saddened to see what happened. And my feelings and my heart goes out to those who lost their loved ones, who are still in hospital. It is a very sad story. We have been following what came out in the news. It is a terror attack, very obviously, and therefore, my condolences go to not only the people but also the people of India.
All the gates of Lal Killa metro station have reopened for commuters 5 days after the deadly Delhi blast near the Red Fort. The station, which falls on the violet line of the Delhi metro, had been closed as a precautionary measure following the explosion. After the blast, the Delhi Metro Rail Corporation announced on Thursday that the Lal Killa metro station would remain shut due to security concerns. Entry and exit at the station were temporarily suspended and services were halted until the security agencies provided clearance. The station, located on the violet line of the Delhi metro, serves as a key access point for several prominent landmarks, including the historic Red Fort, Jama Masjid and the bustling Chandni Chowk area. The Jammu and Kashmir government on Saturday announced an ex gratia payment of Rs 10 lakh for the family of each person who died in the accidental blast at Nagaam police station. The compensation will come from the Chief Minister's Relief Fund. Those who sustained severe injuries will receive 1 lakh rupees each. Acting on the Chief Minister's directions, Jammu and Kashmir Health Minister Sakina Itu visited several families who lost loved ones in the explosion to offer condolences. An accidental explosion tore through the Nagaam police station in Srinagar, killing 9 people and injuring 32 others. Four people lost their lives and 5 others were injured after a sports utility vehicle crashed into a dumper truck late on Saturday in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam district. The tragic crash drew strong reactions from Jammu and Kashmir leaders. Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha extended his condolences. In a post on X, he said that he was extremely pained by the loss of precious lives in a tragic road accident in Budgam. Chief Minister Omar Abdullah voiced deep sorrow and instructed district officials to ensure every possible assistance for those affected and called for swift and comprehensive medical attention for the injured. He further ordered that the cause of the collision shall be thoroughly investigated. Around 15 people are feared trapped after a stone mine collapsed in Uttar Pradesh's Sonbhadra on Saturday. Rescue operations are underway. Relief teams, including State and National Disaster Relief Force, are at the spot. The body of the person who died has been recovered. The collapse happened in the Billy Markundi mining area. While the cause of the collapse is not yet known, the district magistrate said that a probe would be initiated to ascertain the same. Telangana will host the Telangana Northeast Connect Festival in 2 phases in Hyderabad next week. The festival aims to build cultural, social and developmental linkages between Telangana and the northeastern region. The first phase will be held from November 20th for 3 days at High-Techs, featuring cultural showcases and stalls with handmade products by women self-help groups. The second phase will take place at Raj Bhavan from November 25th for 3 days, including health sector panel discussions and participation from about 500 invitees and officials. A team from 60 Parachute Field Hospital paid solemn homage at the War Memorial in South Korea, laying a wreath on behalf of the DGA-FMS and the Indian Armed Forces. The contingent honored the gallant Indian troops who rendered distinguished service during the Korean War, reaffirming the steadfast military ties, shared legacy of sacrifice and continued camaraderie between India and the Republic of Korea. And back home at the 44th India International Trade Fair being held at Bharat Mandapam in Delhi, the Madhya Pradesh Pavilion has become the center of attraction. The pavilion has been designed according to the fair's theme, that is Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat, which means One India, Great India. Here, the visitors can not only see the Gwalior Fort, but also get a glimpse of the Chausak Yogini Temple of Morena. The pavilion has been decorated in line with the fair's theme, Ek Bharat, Shresth Bharat. The pavilion showcases the industrial progress of Madhya Pradesh along with exhibits of various products which are also being sold at the stalls. In Lisbon, Indian Ambassador Puneet Roy Kundal received Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa at Diplomatic Bazaar 2025, marking 50 years of the diplomatic ties between India and Portugal. The exhibition highlighted India's rich cultural heritage, and both sides reviewed the full spectrum of bilateral ties, including trade, defense, renewable energy, agriculture, science and technology, tourism and education. They discussed ongoing bilateral agreements and agreed to expedite their conclusion. India and Portugal also reaffirmed cooperation in multilateral fora like the UN and exchanged views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. The Indian Air Force will participate in the 8th edition of the bilateral air exercise Garoud 25 in France from Sunday. IAF will conduct this exercise with the French Air and Space Force, that is FASF, till 27th of November. The Ministry of Defence said that this exercise aims to refine tactics and procedures in a realistic operational environment. The ministry added that it also provides an opportunity for professional interaction, exchange of operational knowledge and sharing of best practices between the two air forces. During the exercise, the IAF's Su-30 MKI aircraft will operate alongside the French multi-role fighters in complex simulated air combat scenarios, focusing on air-to-air combat, air defense and joint strike operations. The 11th edition of the India-Sri Lanka Joint Military Exercise Mitra Shakti continued at Foreign Training Node in Belagavi, Karnataka, with 2 days of intensive training. Soldiers from both the countries participated in fitness drills, yoga, heli-borne operations and joint live firing exercises to improve combat skills and teamwork. Training included casualty evacuation, road opening procedures, drone operations, survival skills and IED countermeasures. The exercise strengthened mutual cooperation and operational readiness between the two forces. The 8th edition of the biennial joint bilateral exercise Ajaya Warrior between the Indian and British Army will be conducted from 17th to 30th of November at the Mahajan Field Firing Ranges in Rajasthan. The exercise aims at building positive military relations, imbibe each other's best practices and promote the ability to operate together while undertaking company-level sub-conventional operations in urban and semi-urban environments under UN mandate, in addition to developing interoperability, bonhomie, camaraderie and friendship between the two armies. The exercise reflects the shared commitment of India and the United Kingdom towards global peace and security, while further deepening defence cooperation, camaraderie and mutual trust between the two armies. The army exercise comes shortly after India and the United Kingdom successfully held exercise Konkan off the west coast of India earlier in October this year. Indian Coast Guard concluded its two-day search and rescue workshop in Odisha's Paradeep on Saturday. The exercise and workshop in Paradeep aimed to strengthen coastal security and improve emergency preparedness, ensuring effective response during maritime incidents. It brought together personnel to practice coordinated operations and refine rescue techniques. The workshop focused on enhancing communication and situational awareness during emergencies, contributing to overall maritime safety. The Sabrimala temple will open on Sunday evening for the annual Mandala Makara Vilaku pilgrimage season, with extensive preparations completed for the safety of devotees. The hill shrine dedicated to Lord Ayappa will open at 5 p.m. IST on Sunday in the presence of Chief Minister Kantararu Mahesh Mohanaru. Though the temple opens on Sunday, formal rituals and the commencement of the pilgrimage with the opening of the doors by the new priest will begin on 3 a.m. on Monday, marking the Vrishikam month. Now, the authority has capped the daily number of devotees at 90,000 to avoid overcrowding. Of the total 90,000 daily darshan slots, 70,000 will be through online booking and 20,000 through spot booking. Let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. Madhya Pradesh government released 32 prisoners, 2 inmates from Indore Central Jail, including 9 from tribal communities for good conduct on November 15th to mark Tribal Pride Day. This is celebrated on the birth anniversary of tribal freedom fighter Bhagwan Birsa Munda. A grand unity march was held in Uttar Pradesh's Mainpuri to mark the 150th birth anniversary of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. Uttar Pradesh Tourism Minister led the march, joined by thousands of students, NCC, NSS cadres and local citizens. The event remained peaceful, with participants taking pledges for national unity, a drug-free society and self-reliant India. A special cycling ride will be organized in Guwahati to mark the birth anniversary of late singer Zubeen Garg on November 18th, with support from the Fit India movement. Hundreds of participants are expected to join the ride to honor his legacy and promote fitness. You're watching DD India News. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, Indian captain Shubman Gill will not take any further part in the ongoing opening test against South Africa due to injury. Durham dazzles as the Lumiere Festival casts a stunning, shining spell across the night sky.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News. Let's get you updates from the world of sports now. We'll talk of cricket first. Captain Themba Bavuma slammed half-century to guide South Africa's total over 150 runs for the loss of 8 wickets against India on the third day of the first test in Kolkata. The visitors' lead has crossed over 120 runs in their second innings on a pitch that has made batting tricky. Earlier, veteran spinner Ravindra Jadeja took 4 wickets to put India in sight of victory on day 2 of the low-scoring opening test. At stumps on day 2, South Africa were 93 for the loss of 7 wickets. The Indian Cricket Board said that Captain Shubman Gill is under observation in hospital after suffering neck pain and will take no further part in the first test against South Africa. Gill felt pain in his neck after scoring a boundary on the second day of the game in Kolkata and left the field. The BCCI said that he is currently under observation in a hospital and he will take no further part in the test match. He will continue to be monitored by the BCCI medical team. Gill faces a battle to be fit to lead the side in the second test in Guwahati, which is due to begin on November 22nd. Narayan Singh joins us for more on this. Narayan, this is the third day of the test between India and South Africa. Shubman Gill will not be playing. What do we look forward to?
Priti, Shubman Gill, we know that the star batter for the Indian team. He was we can say that the architect of India's we can say a draw that they did in the England before this year. We can say that, but this time around, when he is out of the series because of the neck spell, it's a big jolt for the Indian team. If you take a look at the score of the India in the first inning, it was below 200. If Gill would have been there for the few, I think at least 10 over, the score would have been crossed the 200-run mark. So definitely a big jolt for the Indian team, particularly in this test match. At one point in time, that it was looking like that India is on the verge of a victory. But the way today the South African captain Themba Bavuma played a fantastic half-century, we can say that even if a score of a target of 180, 170 would be a challenging on this pitch because it is highly unpredictable. Yesterday, if you take a look on day 2, 15 wickets fell. In the first session, everything was going good. Only 3 wickets fell. But in the next 2 sessions, we saw 6 wickets in the second session, 6 wickets in the third session. It was really difficult to bowl. And talking about the pitch, nobody would have expected that it will behave like that. At least on 3 days, we have seen in the past, the puff of the dust is coming from the pitch. But yesterday, we saw in day 2 itself, there was a puff of the dust. We can say that the pitch was crumbling. So really, it was difficult to bat on. But if the batters are showing belief in themselves, in their methodology, in their defensive technique, definitely they can make runs. If you take a look, Indian batting lineup, definitely the way Rishabh Pant, the way Ravindra Jadeja played few knocks of around 20 and 30. If you play to their potential, if you believe in your defensive technique, definitely runs can be scored. Even if you take a look at South Africa's first inning, where their opener scored 57-run partnership, and same Themba Bavuma is also executing himself. So it is not like that you can't score run in such pitches, but thing is that you have to be at your best. You have to follow the basics of the game. I think that was lacked from the batters from both the sides. And today, if South Africa makes here around 200 runs, definitely it will be difficult for the India to play in the 4th innings because the pitch is, we know that as the game will progress, as the day will progress, definitely there will be crumbles in the pitch, there will be cracks in the pitch, the puff of the dust will come out of the pitch. That will really be difficult for the India to bat on. But here, right now, India needs few quick wickets, and if Jasprit Bumrah, if Ravindra Jadeja could do this, definitely that will help Indian cause.
All right, Narayan, we'll leave it here. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. And from cricket to boxing, Indian boxers were handed a mixed draw at the World Boxing Cup Finals 2025 on Saturday, with Nikhat Zareen starting her campaign directly from the semi-finals in Greater Noida. The World Boxing Cup Finals, in fact, scheduled for December 16 to 20th at Shahid Vijay Singh Pathik Sports Complex, will bring together more than 120 elite boxers from 15 nations. Every boxing weight category, 10 each for men and women, features a maximum of 8 contenders. each selected through the official World Boxing Rankings, ensuring high impact and quality competition. After a landmark World Championships in 2023, this marks India's first major international boxing tournament on home soil. The winner of the bout will earn a meeting against Olympic medalist and top seed Huang Xiaowen of Chinese Taipei in the semi-finals. Every win here also carries crucial ranking points, making each bout vital for the Indians' international standing. In tennis, Carlos Alcaraz had set up a blockbuster summit clash against Yannick Sinner at the ATP Finals in Turin on Saturday. Alcaraz cruised past Felix Auger-Aliassime for 6-2, 6-4 to set up the title clash with Sinner after a series of thrilling battles between the pair this year. The Spaniard has won 4 of the 5 meetings this season, which have all come in the final of the top-level tournaments. Alcaraz triumphed in the finals of the US Open and French Open, but lost the Wimbledon final to Sinner. Sinner has won his last 18 sets played in Turin, and the 4-time Grand Slam champion is on a 30-match winning streak on indoor hard courts. Cricket Australia on Saturday said that Australian pacer Josh Hazlewood has been ruled out of the first Ashes test against England. On Wednesday, he left New South Wales Sheffield Shield match against Victoria at the Sydney Cricket Ground to have a hamstring niggle examined. Hazlewood's absence is a big blow for the Aussies, who are already without captain Pat Cummins for the first test, scheduled to begin on November 21st in Perth. Michael Neser has been brought into the first test squad as a cover for both Hazlewood and Jean Abbott, who also suffered a hamstring injury. Durham's historic cathedral and city streets glow brightly as the Lumiere Festival casts its stunning light installations across the night sky. The biennial celebration once again turns the city into a vibrant open-air gallery. And with that, Durham closes the day shining brighter than ever. All right, with that, we end this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. Now, this app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can download the respective QR codes. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.